and welcome back. Over a little ride this morning, and the little topic I'd like to talk about is types of terrain that you may encounter, or types of roads you may encounter while you're out for your ride. The first one is the most common if you're doing street riding, which is the pavement that we're on right now. And it probably is one of the nicest ones to ride because it's smooth, it's well maintained, and there's really not much to look out for. The only things you really need to look for are debris that could be on the road, some gravel, some oil spots, big puddles, stuff like that. The other thing would be to be conscious of your speed going into corners and stuff like that, to make sure you don't, low side or high side a corner. But other than that, like I said, these are really pleasant roads to ride. They're nice and smooth, but you will find the majority of your traffic on these types of roads. So the next type of road, which we will be coming up to in a second here, is what I'm going to call the maintained gravel road. And as you can see, as soon as I come around this corner, you can also see here, you can talk about the loose gravel on the pavement. But now this is a dirt road, and it's graveled on top, so there's a loose surface. And if you know this bike, the front tire, the OEM front tire, does not like loose gravel. So this is the worst type of road for driving because it is a public road. So you are expected to go, speeds that would be equivalent to normal driving speeds. But you don't want to go too fast that you lose your ability to control your bike. And I'll have to slow down on this corner here because it is very loose gravel on this road. Into the curves, you really need to watch yourself. But on straightaways, it's not that bad at all. And you can see that this is smoothed out where the cars have driven it quite often. So the gravel's been pushed to the sides. And there is a nice smooth section to ride, which is very smooth. But then once you come around the corners, you got to be careful of that loose gravel again. So this is, like I said, one of the more dangerous roads to ride. You really have to be conscious of your speeds into corners, and you have to keep an eye on the ground to look for those loose sections. Another recommendation is to push your weight forward so you can put more weight onto the front tire to help grip in the turns and in the loose sections. So next section we're going to go into now is I'm going to call it a unmaintained old logging road. And you can see there's quite a bit of tracks in here, so people have been up here quite a bit. So this is what I'm going to call, like I said, unmaintained. So it's not officially owned by the government, so they're not going to keep it up. But it's used enough that it doesn't grow in. And you can see this is wide enough for a vehicle other than a bike or four-wheeler side by side. A car, well, I wouldn't say a car, a truck or a Jeep could easily traverse this side road. There are bumps. There are more bumps into this road than you would find in the other two sections, the other two roads that we've already covered, because it is not maintained. So as people rut it, or as nature does its thing, you're going to find there's a lot more bumps, a lot more rocks, a lot more puddles to deal with. And for the most part, they're not bad enough to worry about your driving. You can still just sit down and cruise it if you're going to go slow. If you are going to speed up, maybe recommend it to stand on your forks, on your on your pedestal, so you can let the bike absorb more of the bumps than have yourself take the bumps. But this road isn't too bad, and if you go slow, you really don't have to worry about it. But the faster you go, the more bumps will affect your biking and your ability to control. So you can see there are some mud sections here, some ruts. It's not too bad so far. I think there will be puddles that we come up to in a little bit here. This used to be a puddle. You can see it's pretty dried out now. The next one, a little bit more bumps here. This is another big puddle, and with the puddles, I would recommend going around the edges if possible, because you don't know what's inside the middle of the puddle. It could be very deep. It could be rocks that are hidden by the water. So if you can, go closer to the edges. That will allow you to have better control and not hit stuff that may be hidden in the water. So this is pretty smoothed out now a little bit. So we're going to speed up a little bit. And we are coming out now. And there's another puddle here, a little muck. You can see the muck. You can see the track coming into it. So I'm going to try to go around the edge again and deal with that puddle. It's all done. So now the next type here. Again, this is a non-government road. I believe it's non-government. And it's really not a kept road. They do periodic maintenance on it. Whoever does own it, it could be government, it could be a forestry company, because it is really a logging road. It's used for more logging, and it's used for fire access if there's fires down the section. But you can see the road is a very rough road. There are a lot of loose sections. There's a lot of washed out sections. You can see there's a lot of larger rocks than you would find on the other gravel road that we were on. That was a really nice fine gravel, and that's deal, cars. This, I wouldn't want to take my, my sports car down this road. But you could take, you could take normal cars. Just you'd have to watch your speed in some sections. There are some muck ruts. I want to call them ruts. You can see them here a little bit. You can see the grooves where there would be in the spring and the fall. Not so much the fall. It's more of a spring when the frost comes out of the ground. The road gets really mucky. So cars and Jeeps and stuff, they do a number. They rip it up. And as you can see coming up this hill here, you can see what I mean by washed out. Look at the big rocks on this section. They're quite large. They're loose. And to deal with them, you kind of have to watch yourself. Now I'm going to go into another section here, another type of road. Now I want to call this. This is not large enough for a vehicle, a Jeep, anymore. It's kind of I'll say a used road. But it's not maintained, and it's not driven enough by larger vehicles to keep it from growing in or keep it wide enough that a car or Jeep, well, more a Jeep or truck, could maneuver it. This is really for four-wheelers now, and side-by-sides, and motorcycles are pretty much what traverse this path. And you can see it's really rough, and I'm going to just take my time going down here. I'm sure anybody with a Jeep would harp up, oh, this is nothing, I can drive this, and I'm sure a Jeep could do it. And I used to have I'll say a small size truck, and I used to drive this in my truck with no problem. But that was 20 years ago. It is a little worse than it was back then. And this road will have some huge puddles. They are dried up now, not too bad. Not too bad at all. This was puddle even like last time. So this is not bad at all. But you can see the branches are grown in more. You gotta watch yourself. It's really a lot more rocky. So you need to watch those rocks and be careful. But other than that, you know, it's like the second type of terrain we covered, just more condensed and more rough. It has the same principles, you know, stand up if it's a really bumpy section, or go around puddles if you need it, or just go really slow and take your time. It's not a race, and you're out to enjoy yourself. So you know, do it. So those are 4 different types of terrains that you may encounter with your dual sport, and some of the things and characteristics you should be consistent aware of. So I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your rides. Goodbye.